Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Talking to Heartland podcast. And this is a show where we are recapping past episodes of the Heartland TV show. And today we are just doing 2 episodes. It's season 13, episodes 7 and 8. And because there are 4 episodes left of this season, because there's only 10, we decided to split do 7 and 8 in one episode and 9 and 10 in another episode. So it's going to be really fun finishing off season 13. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. Michelle's here.
Hey everyone.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's sort of crazy to finish season 13. I mean, we've got like 2 episodes left and that's us.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might actually be pretty close to caught up, if not caught up for season 16. We could do those as they air or close to it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
That's wild.
Yeah. I hope everybody listening got to listen to our interview with Amber Marshall. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed getting to talk with her. Was there anything in particular for you, Michelle, that stuck out for you in the interview?
Yeah, like the block filming is so interesting. Like, I know there's a few shows that do that, but it's crazy to think that, you know, how to keep all that sort of straight in your head of, you know, it's hard enough filming out of order. It's like hard enough filming out of order, but filming 2 episodes out of order at the same time must be so crazy. And like, yeah, I heard an interview, I'm not sure who it was, but another actress of like doing so many like costume changes because they were filming like 2 episodes in sort of the block system, and they had to film like all of the bar scenes, and they were just constantly changing outfits for like multiple days. Yeah, so it's sort of like really interesting, and have all the sort of stunt horses, or like not even like stunt horses, but just like doubles, and you know the lengths they go to sort of, you know, make it look like you know, Spartan or you know, whatever the horse may be that week. But yeah, it's interesting that even the wild horses aren't even wild. They're like just a herd of horses that they bring in.
Yeah, that was all the horse stuff was probably my favorite part. That was very interesting to learn that there's ones that literally their job is to fall. I thought that was interesting. And they have ones that their job is to buck. Ones their jobs are to do all these different things. But that there was ones that's what they do, is they're the falling horse. But it was very interesting.
Yeah. Yes, it's sort of the thing that we've been most curious about as well.
Yeah. So our first episode that we're going to talk about today is season 13, episode 7. It's called The Art of Trust. And it's Amy is asked to spend time at an art retreat to work with an artist allegedly traumatized horse. And to start off the episode, they have Amy doing the Liberty work with Spartan. And then also this shows this woman who gets bucked off of a horse named Canvas. And evidently her name is Jane Morrison. She's an artist that Ty visited way back when he's in the plane crash, just before the plane crash. So it was a pretty dramatic way to start out the episode, having her get bucked like that.
Yeah, I was so confused of like the cutting in between. I was like, what's happening? Because at first I thought she was like painting Amy and Spartan. I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, it was kind of a surprising way to start out. And evidently she is doing an art retreat. Is that something you would you want to do? Go on an art retreat?
The retreat part sounds fun. I have no artistic ability whatsoever. Which is really frustrating because my dad's a really good artist.
Oh, really?
He does like painting and sketches and things like that. And even my brother, he's not like into art, but even when he was like a teenager, he was really good at drawing and things like that. But yeah. It skipped me apparently because I'm terrible.
Yeah, I'm with you. About the only artistic thing that I do is making like thumbnails for the videos, and those aren't even that great. So yeah, I'm the same. My mom is super talented. And she, for a long time, she just stopped, like in the last year, she stopped. But for many years, she was studying art in an art school here in this area. So she's really good. You should see some of her paintings and drawings and stuff. But yeah, like most of my mom's talents, they did not come through to me. She's also a really great sewer and knitter, and just anything that requires a lot of patience is usually frustrating for me. Not my
Yeah, I'm the
strength.
same. Yeah, I'm the same. It's just like crafty things. Like I'm just so jealous of people that have that ability.
Uh-huh.
And especially the ones that are able to sort of multitask, like
Yes.
knit and watch TV, or like do all of these things that are like relaxing. That's not me.
Yeah.
Like I get so stressed out when I'm doing anything sort of creative. So the idea of them being relaxing just
Yeah,
doesn't
I
appeal.
used to be able to do that. I always have something on kind of in the background or whatever, but in
Hmm.
the last few years, I can't do it. I got to turn it off for
Yeah, I'm the
almost
same.
everything. There's a few things that I can just kind of have. Food Network I can have on the background because it doesn't require like thinking. There's a
Hmm.
plot, for Food Network. But yeah, I'm not a great artist. But we have Luke and Katie fighting over the syrup. Getting pretty upset. And I do relate to this plot with Luke a lot and Katie
Hmm.
because when I was in 8th grade, my cousin came to live with us, and
Hmm.
I did not like it at all. I didn't like him honing in on my friends or being there at
Hmm.
school, and I don't know why I couldn't have been a little bit more accepting, but teenagers, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I understand the awkwardness and the frustrations that Katie is feeling, even though Luke seems to be perfectly sweet and nice. I just because of my experience with having my cousin live with us.
It's just a lot of sort of jealousy from Katie's point of view,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is understandable. All about getting her dad's attention or her mom's attention when she can. So it's understandable that she feels a little bit threatened.
Hmm. Yeah. And then we have Quinn and talking to Georgie, and she says, "Oh, I don't need any distractions." And Quinn says, "Are you saying I'm a distraction?" So I do think that this is the best pairing that we've seen with Georgie.
Yeah,
Would you
for
agree?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. He's like super supportive of like our interests. And it also feels like we're getting like way more development than we're getting like with the majority of couples on Heartland, excluding
Uh-huh.
maybe sort of Amy and Ty and Jack and Lisa. It sort of feels like we're getting, even though we're sort of meeting them sort of months later, after they've met and had a relationship, it just sort of feels like we're seeing way more than, you know, whenever sort of Caleb and Cass turn up, it just sort of feels like I've nothing to sort of compare them to, or just sort of
Hmm.
nothing to sort of fill in the gaps with them. Whereas it feels like we're getting a lot of sort of build up and a lot of interesting sort of stuff with Georgie and Quinn.
Yeah. When I don't think we've really seen Georgie initiate kind of a relationship and be more of I think
Yeah,
like she's just kind of been like, okay,
yeah,
let's do it. Where
yeah. They
this, it
just sort
seems
of
like
happen
she's
to her.
making, yeah, I think this she's making more of an effort.
Yeah, and it feels a lot more. Even though she's still a teenager, it feels a lot more adult, and
Yeah.
it feels like she's sort of recognizing that as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. We also find out that Quinn's dad was an Olympian, so that's part of the reason why he's pushing them so hard.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that can't be easy.
Yeah. And then we get Tim. Tim introduces himself to Quinn. And this episode is directed by Chris Potter.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm. So, and uh, and then Lisa tells Jack that she wants to go on the retreat and wants him to go. And it was cute because he's basically like, okay, I'm not going to fight this battle. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. He's sort of been, yeah, he's given in at this point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like a couple of seasons ago he would have put up more of a fight.
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I guess he figures what's the harm in just hanging around the ranch, and it's not like he has to do the artwork.
Yeah. It's very similar to like the Dude Ranch.
Hmm.
We just gets to fish in a different area, I suppose.
So Quinn and Georgie jump, and then they have a kiss, and she decides, okay, I'm going to do the local
Hmm.
jumping. So
I'm sure that'll
we,
be a lot.
yeah. So we find out that Caleb and Cass are at the retreat. They're
Hmm.
trying to recharge, and this whole thing with Caleb and Jack fishing was really, really cute.
Yeah. Yeah. Jack just sort of like he knew exactly what was gonna happen the second they saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
The
relaxing retreat just sort of disappeared before his eyes when he saw Caleb.
Yeah, and that was funny. I liked that. And so then uh, Jane asked Amy to work with the horse canvas,
Hmm.
and they I did think it was funny when Katie picks black paint and Luke blue,
Hmm.
and then Luke says that black isn't a color, and he's absolutely correct about that.
Hmm.
The black is a combination of all colors. It's not actually a color, if you're going to be technical.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
And
got a good point there.
white is the absence of color.
Hmm.
So um so we also find that Quinn's stud horse is missing in transit, and it's George's fault. Everybody's upset. And then Quinn says that his dad thinks he doesn't have what it takes to be an Olympian,
Hmm.
but that Georgie has, quote unquote, it. Which
Yeah.
again, I wish we could see her being a little more competitive
Hmm.
if we're supposed to buy that she has, quote unquote, it.
Yeah, it feels like everyone around her is telling her that, but we're not actually getting that from her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the horse is in Toronto, and Lisa's signed off on it, and they can't find it. They lose the horse. That's right, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she signed off on it, and then she says, "I'm tired. I'm tired of making mistakes. I want to consider retirement." And before she met Jack, she thought she'd be living in France. So that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I just really don't think retirement would suit Lisa.
Yeah,
Like
and it just
taking a step back, absolutely, but yeah, it just
mhm.
doesn't seem to be in her character.
Yeah, well, and it was only a few months prior to this that there was no money for Christmas presents, so they had to make wreaths, and that doesn't seem like a good time to retire. So maybe she has a great 401k. Who knows?
Maybe.
So they've noticed that Jane isn't painting with them, that she's a little bit off. And Amy says, well, maybe Canvas is sensing something with Jane. And it
Hmm.
turns out she has macular degeneration.
Oh, yeah, that's so
And
sad.
yeah. And the connection that Canvas has with her is affected because she's so tense, she's so nervous
Hmm.
about everything. And this, I guess, macular degeneration is where a part of the eye that controls sharp, straight ahead vision is damaged because of aging. So, yeah, it can make things kind of fuzzy.
Hmm.
And so that's interesting. Um, and Jane says, I can't ride, I can't paint, it's a mess. So the joys of aging, right?
Yeah, it's so sad. Like the idea of the one thing you need to do, both of the things that you love, um, being taken from you. So yeah, it's It's such a sad situation, but I do love that Amy just sort of has this. Yeah, I think we have seen that before on the show, haven't we? Of like not so much a seeing eye. Well, we didn't we? We saw like a girl that had vision problems or some sort of
Yeah.
disability. Yeah, I think we did. So yeah, it makes sense that Amy would sort of bring that back around.
Well, and didn't Amy for a time, for like 2 episodes, she was blind?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised they never mentioned that.
Yeah, did you notice that Amber Marshall mentioned it in an interview? She's when she was talking about what it was like to play pregnant. She's like, yeah, and then also playing a blind person. So
Mhm.
that was interesting. I thought that she recalled that.
Mhm.
So it was early on, I think pretty early on in the
Yeah, that was in the first couple of seasons.
yeah. So what's really funny is that Katie and Luke finally bond, but
Mhm.
they bond over making fun of Lou.
Yeah, that's relatable.
Yeah. uh And then we have a conversation between Quinn and Georgie, and it says you're going to push me away again, like in Europe. And says, I'm just an excuse so you can avoid your reality. So Quinn decides that he's going home. It's the last thing I want to do. All I want to be is here with you, Georgie. And then she says, "This is why I said goodbye in Europe. You shouldn't have come here." Such drama.
Yeah, yeah. Can never
But
go easy for a couple in Heartland.
yes, and I think it does actually make a kind of a sense. It does kind of make sense that they would have this bond from this camp, because I feel like those kinds of situations can be just this intense. You're spending all this time together. You're usually in close quarters.
Mhm.
That you are kind of more likely to have this kind of intense relationship that they had.
Yeah, and they're in a bubble, so all of the sort of
Mm-hmm.
real life stuff isn't affecting them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as so simple when you sort of return to the real world.
Mm-hmm. So then Amy teaches Jane how to ride visually impaired.
Mhm.
And so that was very interesting, because you would think that you would need more assistance than she seemed to need when she
Mhm.
got the hang of it.
Yeah, it's like I'm not sure I would have that amount of like trust.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it's different when it's a horse that you've been riding for many years, but yeah, like it's such a scary thought. Of just not even being able to just like you can't see, so that's like hard enough and sort of terrifying enough. But yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
putting everything on the horse is yeah, even like tenfold.
Yeah, it would be hard to 100% trust the
Mhm.
horse, but I guess that's exactly what the horse picks up on, is the lack of trust.
Mhm.
If you couldn't see, that would be hard.
Yeah, very much
But
so.
yeah. So I like that. This, I think that Cass says that she's getting the silent treatment, and Jack, or somebody tells that to Jack, and he says that must be nice, because Caleb is talking his ear off,
Yeah.
and, and Caleb says, "I feel stuck,"
Mhm.
and Jack says, "2 of you is enough. That's all you need," which is true. Should
Yeah.
be true for a marriage. If although I know that infertility treatments and fertility in general is very stressful on a marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not quite sure of the timeline. So I mean, they haven't been married for very long, and
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure how long they've been trying. But yeah, even just like from the beginning, I can imagine it can be really, really stressful and really, um, yeah, just like all of
Mm-hmm.
the sort of treatments and all of that is just it really doesn't bear thinking about.
Yeah, and so then Caleb falls in the water and
Hmm.
breaks the fishing rod. He was
Oh
like a
my God.
total mess with the fishing.
Yeah, he's just such a child.
Yeah. I've only gone fishing a couple of times.
Hmm.
I love boating. Absolutely love boating. I love open water swimming. But just the sort of just sitting there, which is the appeal, is just relaxing.
Mhm.
and meditating kind of a thing about fishing. It's too slow for me though. I like going and doing and or
Mhm.
at least watching, whether it's a movie or play or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if fishing is my kind of sport.
No, yeah, I don't even really. It's one of those ones that I'm like, is it a sport? Is it a hobby? Like,
Yeah.
I've been a couple of times again when I was really young, but yeah, it's not for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a really funny Brian Regan bit that he does about fishing and watching fishing on TV.
Mhm.
He's like, "Did you know that there is an editor for the fishing show? That means there's somebody who's taking out the less exciting parts,
Which
leaving
is like,
in the exciting
yeah,
part."
like 99% of it.
It's a really, really funny bit. You should look it up. But then Caleb talks to Cass, finds out she's pregnant. So exciting. So yay for them.
Yeah.
Hmm. And we find out that Georgie is kind of fighting with Quinn and she's very insecure. And I think that she's actually the wrong person to be pursuing like the Olympics and stuff like that because
Mhm.
she's so sensitive to any kind of pressure. Like her family are trying to encourage her in this competition coming up and they're being perfectly, I think, nice. They're not, I didn't see them as being too overwhelming or whatever, but she is very sensitive to any kind of pressure.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's sort of like I'm trying to understand if it's sort of like she was in the mindset of like she was taking the summer off, and
Mm-hmm.
so this is sort of a bit of a curveball that's been thrown for her. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense of like you went away to Europe to compete, and so like what yeah, like what does she want out of jumping?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's very clear.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is either. It seems like she enjoys doing the trick riding almost more. If she
Hmm.
enjoyed it, then and she seemed equally good at both.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was more fun to watch as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we have Lisa saying, "I'm not ready to change our chapter." We have Jane making a painting for Amy.
Yeah, it's a
And
beautiful paint.
it was really pretty. Yeah. And finish off the episode with Spartan literally bowing before Amy,
Yeah,
which
yeah, I
made me
did not.
laugh.
I was so worried even at the beginning of the episode. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. Like they are just laying the groundwork for Spartan getting older. Which is something you have to deal with when you take on animals. It's like inevitable. It always happens. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's so sad when you realise that your animal can't do the things that it used to be able to do. But yeah, I thought it was handled really well. But yeah, I was just like, I can see what you're doing, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah. So what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I'd probably give it an 8. I thought it was a really good returning guest star. Yeah, really fun episode.
Hmm.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
All right. So I agree with that. So this episode 8, it's called Legacy. This is also directed by Chris Potter. And it's Tim is organizing an important rodeo when an old flame blows back into Hudson asking for help. So overall, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I wasn't as crazy about this one. It felt a little weird for Casey to just come back and be like, "Yeah, I'm engaged." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like it's that long ago. So this
No,
is
it
a pretty
doesn't feel.
quick
It's not long
engagement.
ago at all. Yeah, it's been really really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
I'm mixed on it because the the episode itself was good, but yeah, I didn't enjoy the Spartan stuff. Again, I'm just like dreading what was to come. Just made me anxious.
Yeah, I mean, this whole plot line of Lou running for mayor is not my favorite.
Hmm.
And then I think she is mayor for a bunch of more seasons, but I don't know, it's just not that interesting to me, especially when it would be more interesting to me if she had just like a normal uh a normal challenger.
Hmm.
Instead, he's so obviously an over the top bad guy who's
Yeah,
building
like a
condos on the
villain. Yeah.
beach.
Yeah, condos are just like evil. So the one
Like,
thing we've learned from Homework.
yeah, he's pretty one note of a character, which is just not that interesting.
Yeah, yeah, you could sort of see it, before it happened. So yeah,
Hmm.
that was probably my least favorite thing of the episode as well.
And
And I agree, it's just one more thing. Like it feels like every few seasons, and if they need to give Lou another thing,
mhm.
another job, another.
Yeah, she already has, well, it seems like 3 jobs, and she's got her, the girls, and she's got, be a mother and
Mhm.
everything. So it's a lot on her plate.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
Yeah, this JD Worth running for mayor, wealthy developer, which means
Hmm.
the worst person.
Yeah.
We also have, it was really funny beginning with Caleb whistling, and Tim's like, "Why are you whistling? What's with you?" And then he tells Tim the news. So that was a cute scene.
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah, I just love Caleb's sort of bond with pretty much everyone. Yeah, I know he's everyone.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So Jade is now, rooming with Georgie, and she's a handful to live with.
Oh my God, I would not survive.
Although
I'm
I
not
would
like,
be
I'm
a
not the
lot.
tidiest person, but yeah,
Mhm.
just that kind of untidiness really, really drives me crazy.
Yeah, I'm not the tidiest person either, but there are limits.
Yeah.
But I
I think
I
when it
think
comes to like cleanliness, that's when I have like,
mhm,
not
yeah.
happening.
But she is cooking, which would win a lot of, I would be willing to forgive a lot, which Georgie doesn't care. But if somebody was making me pancakes in the morning or waffles, I would be very inclined to forgive them because I love breakfast. It's such a pain to make yourself.
Hmm.
But so then they decide they're going to run the Heritage Rodeo, and uh, they um, and as they're doing that, then Casey comes, and like you said, she's gotten engaged, and she's hoping that Tim wants to buy her company.
Yeah, it just seemed a little insensitive,
Hmm.
this whole storyline.
Well, yeah,
And
and
Tim isn't even my favorite person, but even I was like, this seems weird.
Tim is literally living out of an RV. It's not the kind of person that you think of, okay, like they're gonna have the capital to buy my business.
Hmm.
You
Yeah, it
know.
seems like he's got money, but yeah, he hasn't spent it.
Hmm.
Because he did sell his, ranch. But yeah, I honestly think he just is in that RV to like annoy Jack.
Hmm. So Jade and Georgie make a deal with each other.
Hmm.
And so Jade has to learn jumping, Georgie learning to lasso. So that was
Hmm.
fun,
Yeah, that was really
flipping
fun.
the roles.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It was nice to see sort of Georgie do something fun for a change.
Yeah, it's been kind of gloomy lately.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, because Jade is getting, I mean, Georgie's getting tired of Jade eating her pizza and taking too long showers.
Yeah, can't
there
blame her.
there are some things that should just be basic roommate code that anybody should appreciate, that you
Hmm.
don't use all of the hot water. You try to get in and out as quickly as you can. Although I do have an extra, the extra big tank, so we can do pretty good. But still, if you know other people are using the hot water, it's rude to take like a super long shower.
Yeah. We don't
Mhm.
have that problem, but yeah. Yeah, her hot water just goes forever.
Yeah. Have you always lived at home or did you have roommates?
No, I've always lived at home.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I haven't had that roommate situation.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just yeah. But even just like going on holiday and having to share space
Mm.
with other people, I find to be fine for so many days, and then I do get a little overwhelmed because I am just used to having my own space. But yeah,
Mhm.
like I said, I'm not the tidiest person. Like I have a lot of stuff, and that stuff is sort of piled around. But yeah, it's when it comes to like cleanliness and just people being disrespectful of your things, and yeah,
Mhm.
that's when it sort of I've never had that situation, thank God. It's more just for me like the only problem I've run into is just feeling overwhelmed and sort of feeling
Yeah.
like I don't have room to breathe. Because and it's not even like the person or whoever it is, it doesn't really matter who it is, it's
Mhm.
just when you're used to sort of spending a lot of time on your own or just in your own
Yeah.
space, it's sort of it kind of yeah, it's a little weird to get used to the opposite.
Yeah, if I were to ever get another roommate, it would be a challenge because I mean, I have gotten into some bad habits living
Mhm.
alone, like not folding my
Yeah.
laundry. They're just kind of in a pile, which is bad.
Yeah, I've got
But
one of those piles.
it takes so long. It takes so
Mhm.
long. So Tim wants to salute some of the former bronc riders, some of the for the rodeo, the Heritage Rodeo, which makes sense if it's Heritage Rodeo, you want to pay homage to the Heritage Rodeo members.
Yeah.
So he goes and visits this couple, Butch and Maureen.
Mhm.
While he's there, Butch collapses and he says, "Why don't you get him to a hospital or whatever?" And he doesn't have insurance. They don't have
Mhm.
insurance.
Yeah.
So,
So sad.
mhm. Yeah, I was just watching a movie called Murphy's Romance, and Sally
Mhm.
Field's in it. And there's a really funny scene where she's just like, she's going over sort of the cost of everything in the hospital. And he's like, "Can I have it?" The guy's like, "Can I have a tissue?" And he's like, "That's going to cost you $100."
Yeah, I believe it. Um, yeah, I'm so lucky to have like the NHS here, but yeah, the idea of these old timers just still suffering and the repercussions of concussions.
Hmm.
Like concussions are like no joke.
Yeah.
Um,
So Jack gets very upset and he is thinking about starting a foundation for retired writers.
mhm,
And this sounds kind of similar to what they do on Broadway. They have like a whole fund for
mhm,
Broadway actors and that they can tap into during crisis and things like that. I think it's called the Equity Fund, something like that.
yeah, mhm,
Yeah. So this would be a very good thing. And uh and let's see here. So Lou finds out the not only the scheming plans of JD Worth on the town, but that also he is planning on bringing in a chain restaurant across the street
oh my
from
god,
them.
it's
I mean,
even
I
worse than
guess,
condos.
yeah, yeah. And I guess there are no other restaurants allowed in Hudson because remember when they also put up that food truck, she
Mhm,
staged a fit.
yeah, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, that they just don't have any other options than Maggie's. It's Maggie's or
Mhm.
nothing in Hudson.
Yeah, you would think that Hudson could have two at least, support two
Mhm,
restaurants, but it makes Lou really upset. And the this is when she decides to run for mayor. And like I said, I just feel like this whole plot is kind of boring.
mhm,
It's like
yeah.
Mongolia, but not quite as bad.
Let's hope not.
And so when they actually have the rodeo, a bunch of people from the club or whatever have big signs that say like hypocrite.
Yeah, it was a
They're
small
upset.
protest, but they made their point.
Hmm. Hmm. And as Tim at first says that he's taking over Casey's business, but we start to learn more about that.
Mhm.
And he says that Tim says that he needs a clean break, and that includes from Casey. So he's not going to buy her company, and that seems like the smart move because I mean, look what's already happened between Mitch and Jack and Tim. Things are getting heated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I said, it seemed very unfair from Casey. So yeah, I was glad to see Tim make a smart decision for once.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny then with all those hypocrite signs. That made me laugh. Tim says that he's donating all the profits from today's rodeo to the fund. And he's like, can I get a commitment from the other rodeo owners? And first, nobody's raising their hand, and then like 1, and then 2, and then 3. Peer pressure at its finest.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jade and Georgie call their battle a draw between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jade says, she's sorry about Quinn. Georgie's getting more frustrated. And then we get a scene between Tim and Casey where he asks her about the engagement, and he says, I just wonder what makes him more right.
Yeah.
So,
and I even thought like her response to that was a little harsh.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is crazy how much things come down to timing so often in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he says, okay, I'm not going to buy your company. But yeah, I mean, I'd say this episode is pretty filler.
Yeah, I would
I
agree.
didn't dislike it, but it's kind of bland.
Mm-hmm.
So I give it a 7. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's generous.
Yeah. 6.5 maybe. But let us know if you're listening what you would give these episodes. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Michelle, how can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store. Please take a look at that. There's Heartland inspired merch at the merch store. So, and free shipping, I think, right now. So definitely check it out. And yeah, that's it for today. And we'll have 2 episodes recap next week as well. So thanks so much, Michelle. And we will talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.